Hello trappers, in this episode I'm going to take the time here to show you how I'm going to flesh this male fisher. I did save the paws on this for taxidermy, potential taxidermy. Right now just leaving the paws on for myself will get a tan. But stay with me, all of this fat and the saddle on a fisher needs to come off. So hang with me and let's talk ourselves through it. So with any critter we're getting ready to do, we always want to make sure that the hide is stretched out tight and straight. I am going to go ahead and put on an apron, and that'll make it a little cleaner for me. The Marten needs hardly any work, so does the weasel, but the fisher, it does need some attention. So I'm using a Weeby Wicked Sharp double blade, but I'm going to go ahead here and try to get some of this cleaned up around the head. Just doing some fine slicing, not too much, but let's get some of that membrane off of here, and then we can turn it and kind of push it a little bit. There we go. And I may have to do a little bit on the nose up there on another board, on the board, but let me work on the other side here. A lot of this is pushing off, which is good. And I just kind of like push it toward the ears. Then with my knife, I'll come in here and very gently kind of skin it to the ear. Remove some of that. And we'll let the knife kind of take over, the flesh and bean knife take over from there. Let's go to the other side. Let me turn it and get that head a little cleaner. This knife could certainly be a little bit sharper. Again, be careful that you don't cut through the hide now. Let's see if my draw knife will continue taking that. There we go, making sure she's tight. Yep, pretty good. Got a little bit right there. I can get that. Get a little bit of that extra meat. Very good. Yep. Get a little bit cleaner around these ears. I'll try the knife again. Okay. There we go. That's just extra skin. All right. let me go ahead here and start working that down toward the saddle. I'm just pushing it right now, testing the waters. I think it's coming off pretty well. And now it's time to rotate the hide a little bit. So pull it up, do a partial rotation, and keep the work in the middle of the beam. Do it again. Now this one here, I'm going to kind of work and try to see if I can clean up a little bit around that lower jaw. That's more of a, probably something I'm going to have to knife a little bit later. Oh, there I got a little bit of it. All right, let's continue on. If you're doing it for fur sales, I don't think you have to go quite, you don't have to worry that much about the heads as much. A lot of that's cut off. Now there is some extra meat there. Let me go ahead and get it while the getting's good. Here we go. All right, got a little bit of that loose stuff off. Let's continue working. And we'll move them around again. Keep the work in the center and keep them straight. All right, I'm going to go back here to the belly side. I'm going to pull them up a little bit. Keep them right here in the middle. Now this here, every animal I've ever done, the belly is always the thinnest, and we got a little green belly here. So I'm going to have to be very gentle, because it could rip. Let's go ahead and get this leg in there. Look at all that fat. Keep your knife clean. Let's go to the other leg. That's probably the worst part about this warm weather. Checking them every third day. The law says every 5 days, but because it's warm, I've been checking them about every third. You really can't go too much more often because you just don't have the, you know, it isn't like you're being on a feedlot with cattle. Let's get some of that off of there. That nasty old green belly. I'm certain that, like any animal I catch right now, it's probably going to be frozen when I get it tomorrow. And tomorrow will be day 3 again. Let's rotate it and keep it straight. Got a nice layer of fat underneath of them. Let me just put the camera a little bit closer maybe. Yep, there we go. Yep, and we'll just keep pushing that fat downward and rotate the pelt around, keeping it straight. And there we go. Get rid of that. Again, be careful on the belly. That's where a lot of uh-ohs happen, especially female members of whatever species. Their teats will be there, especially a dry bitch coyote, and well, they'll have more prominent teats, so more likely to get them. There's where the testicle sac was. Now, when you go to board this, you're going to want to turn it in just a few hours. But in my case, because I'm going to tan it, I'm not going to worry about getting it turned. So when it goes on the board, it's going to stay there. But for you guys that are selling for fur, you're going to want to come out in about 4 hours and check it. Just depending on how warm you got your room. I personally like my skinning room between 50 and 60 degrees. Normally a nice fan going, not directly on the fur, but just nice and easy. Just moving that air in the room. Get down to there, that otter tail looking thing. Now when he was in the trap, he was on his belly, so most of them gastric juices are going to be directed at the belly. Like I said, if I were to catch this guy tomorrow, he probably wouldn't have a green belly at all. He would just have expired and frozen. Minimal damage there, but it is what it is. Whoop. Let me get that leg. There we go. Just take your knife and whack that little bit off. Just kind of make sure you got her clean. There we go. Get this side. And just a little bit right here. Get it clean. I have fleshed just thousands of animals, and I tell you, if you haven't done it, it just takes some time. The more you do, the mistakes will get better, and or get fewer. Your hides will start looking better. Now, if you're not getting the results you're doing that you want, then by all means, take the time to try to make a change of one type or another, whatever you need to do. You end up coming and keep doing the same thing. You know what they say. Let me check this tail. It's not in too bad a shape. All right. We got our hide done. And so there we go. Our fully skinned out hide, fully fleshed. Let's go ahead and board it. Okay, trappers, so we got our male marten done. Now I'm going to tell you there that the board gets pretty big. You're almost into a fox type of a stretcher, a coon type of a stretcher. This is a male marten stretcher that John has made, and we're just going to go ahead and make sure. Now we got it squared up and tight. I don't need to overstretch it, but let's go ahead here, and we're going to pin the front legs on the belly side, or the hind legs on the belly side. And let's go ahead though and square up the fisher. The object, of course, is just to get the rascal dry. Let's come back around here to the belly side. And I got all these paws here, so I'm gonna open it up pretty as wide as I can to let everything dry. If you have less leg, you don't have to worry about it. We just don't want the fur to roll over on itself. If you see it rolling, then just add another pin. Whatever it takes. There's no rule on that. Fishers are sold with their legs on their belly side. Okay, now then, there we are. And let's go ahead and square up this rear quarter. Well, I'm not worried about it. It's not that type of a hide. And with this tail, I'm going to open it up. So it dries properly. I don't know if fishers are supposed to have pleated tails or not. It would certainly be a tail that looks like it could be pleated. I myself, that isn't what I'm after. And if you prefer to use a steel screen wire, aluminum screen to do the tail, then do that. But unlike our Marten friend, Marten, he just doesn't have much of a tail to pin. That board's a little hard right there, so it's taking a little extra oomph. Maybe one more pin down here at the bottom. It won't take this guy very long to dry. He'll be dry by the time I get back to, before I go. He'll be dry before tomorrow probably. There we go. So let me grab a belly board. So, but with the fisher, I'm going to insert the belly board from the top down because they're going to be harder to take off on the top. So I want the widest portion of my board to be at that location, right up here, and wedge them to the top. And I always let it stick out a little bit. And now, because I'm saving this lower jaw, let's pin the jaw up. And that ought to keep him. Now I'm going to stick a couple pieces of kindling wood here into the legs, so when I hang them up, and you could use clothes hangers or something like that, but this way it isn't just laying down. I want the legs more protruded when I go to lay them down. But we have our fisher boarded. I think we're ready to go. Thanks for watching, folks, and thanks for coming along with me on my trip up here to Maine. Tight chains, trappers.